Update: should I, M22, invite my parents, f48 and m50, to my wedding despite having cut them out of my life, because they refused to stop their polyamorous relationship? Last few words, as I couldn't add to the other post after it got deleted or something. I have had a long talk with my fiance and I do need therapy. Also, I will not be inviting them to my wedding for everyone's sake. Nevertheless, I am making this last post after I wrote something in my reply to another comment that I think helps contextualize what I wanted to say here but couldn't the first time. In a direct message it was suggested to me that I post this as a standalone post. Why? I do not know. Maybe cathartic release, maybe because the people who reached out to me thought this would do some good. I do not know, but here it goes. What hit me that hardest was 4 things. 1. My entire life my parents led me to believe that the reason they couldn't come to my games, sometimes miss my birthday or didn't have time to teach how to ride a bike drive was because they were making these massive sacrifices. When I asked why mom wasn't home or dad wasn't home, they used to tell me they were working late. When I found out, it clicked in my head. They just didn't want to spend it with me. How many nights did I have to make my own dinner? How many times did I tell my teachers my parents were late to pick me up because they were busy at work? How many of them knew what was actually happening? It's not a large town, they knew. When I figured it out, they were not there for me. When I needed them the most, they left me in my room to cry it out. The one moment that will forever be burned into my brain, that and of course finding my mother on that couch with that stranger. After I found out and we got home, I was having a panic attack, my fingers were crossing up, I was hyperventilating, I couldn't move my limbs, my windpipe felt like it was closing, my lips and tongue went numb, and my vision was getting black spots to appear in front of it. In that moment, I saw my mother looking at the mirror and putting on lipstick. We had just gotten home from me having caught her with another man in his house, an image that troubled me so deeply that I had just jumped out of the car because the situation had made it hard for me to breathe. In the midst of this panic attack, she was preparing to go back. After I calmed down, I begged, on my knees, gripping her legs, tears literally rolling down my cheeks, for her to stay. She promised me then she left. I watched her walk out an hour, maybe 2, after the promise she made to me. She went back to his house, and I knew what was happening there. She didn't come home all night and I just cried the whole night. You heard me, Dad, I know you let me down when I needed you. This hit me so meant nothing to them. I genuinely thought I was going to die, but she rather spend that time with him. I always viewed my mother as caring, but that's because she never had to give anything up for it. When I asked her to have a choice to make, to show me she loved me, and be there, or to get her carnal desires fulfilled, she chose the latter, and it was my whole life. They told me to focus on my studies. They told me that I shouldn't date. My mother said this especially, as it would affect my grades. They sold me on the idea that a marriage is between a man and a woman. Then one day, I find my mother bent over a sofa getting nailed by a stranger, and everything fell. It made no sense, and this is who we are. Accept it. These people never even gave me the talk. I was so ashamed of myself that when I was young, I confessed I masturbated once and my mother lost it on me. I was so ashamed of myself my whole life. Then I find out one day, that their carnal desires or blessings, mine are the last thing, was they never stopped for me. I got them to stop for a month barely, but even then I'm lying about that, they just made it much more discreet. I know they visited them when I was at that's just a gut feeling. I begged them, that I couldn't handle this, just to please stop this. They didn't. After a month it was back to normal, but this time they just went about it like nothing. This took some self-reflection and a little too much time to dig out memories that I had blocked out. Also, if you know cheap therapy options, please send those to original. Everyone is sending me direct messages saying that I shouldn't reconnect with my parents and that my fiance shouldn't be pushing me to reconnect with them. She isn't, not anymore. Not since I've explained all this. If anything, she has told me that I shouldn't, and maybe it's best if I leave that door closed. I want to see them again. I want to read them exactly what I wrote above, but in first person, and look them in eyes while doing it.
No, let your wedding day be about you and your partner. You don't want to be worrying about your parents on a day that should be full of joy and set yourself up for more disappointment if they let you down again.
Original.
Have you looked into tele-mental health therapy? I wish you well in your new life. Going no contact for now will help with your healing. They are who they are and that's not going to change. Now that you are an adult, it's not about them anymore. It's about developing your own path. Open communication is key with your partner and lean on each other for support, value each other's feelings, and prioritize each other. If there are unresolved issues with your core beliefs in your relationship, then address them now and solve it before you marry. Try not to ever go to bed angry. Sometimes it takes parents to make you determined to be a great one. I hope that you'll get that opportunity one day. No rush though.
I cut my mom out. My mom, who relied on me as a second parent to 4 younger siblings after dad left, who switched us and took a knife to one of my little brothers, when I was packing a day before moving to Europe not knowing if I would ever come back to the States. She said she wanted a visit. I'm frantically packing, but okay. She comes over, ditches the kids on me, and takes a 4-hour I'm trying to pack. For a move to a place I might never come back. Don't think I'll invite her to my wedding, if that ever happens. I may not go to her funeral.
Your parents were too busy being focused on their lives to be parents. Don't invite them. Cut him out.
I'd invite you, but I'm sure you'll be busy.
I hope your fiance realizes that you cannot have your parents in your life and that they would be horrible examples for your future children. Of course therapy will help you, but it's important that she supports you and doesn't try to make you have a relationship with them. Just talking to them recently re-traumatized you and set you back. Even with therapy, you might never want to see them or talk to them again, and that is all right. The rest of your life is for you, not them.
You never cut them out of your life, they cut you out of. Can a child be missing from home, sleeping in cars, school,
and friends' homes, and these parents not give a what kind of grandparents they would be?
Don't invite them back into your I'm a messed up individual, but if the kids I raised found out or burst, like how you saw your mom and followed her, into my proclivities, then their well-being and state of mind is priority number 1.
I did not get why so many people were calling you the awe. Your update is awesome and sad. I hope you figure things out, but don't need to forgive your parents to move on and be great.
Your parents severely neglected you their whole life. Their practices and appetite was more important than their own child. Your parents are absolutely disgusting, and so are the Redditors telling you to get over it. They were dishonest about everything: family values, family time, their marriage. Everything. I would never be able to forgive them. These narcissists made your life, neglected you, lied to you because their desires came first.
You made the right call. People aren't parents by any definition. They just happen to be the egg and donors that created you. Doubt that they will care that you are getting married aside from the missed opportunity to show off online.
Your previous post was deleted. But if what I'm reading here is accurate, your parents are horrible people. They're disgusting not because they're polyamorous, but because they're selfish, hypocritical, and neglectful. I wouldn't invite them to clean the from my septic tank, let alone my wedding. Why would you even think of inviting them? Edit. Saw the text from your previous post and a lot of people calling you immature, etc. Your previous post hasn't changed my opinion. Your parents deserve a giant sandwich with a side of disdain.
Your parents neglected you so they could have their parents. I wouldn't have anything to do with them ever again. Just because they're family doesn't mean to have a relationship with them.
I am so very sorry, Op. You deserved so much better. Go and see with these selfish, abusive jerks and live your best life without them.
This is a good rule of thumb for any large event where the focus is on a person or a couple: weddings, funerals, graduations. Feel like you have to invite somebody because of who they are, or once were. The stress and worry isn't worth it.
Agreed. Given this information, they would never see me again. What selfish PPL they are, to neglect their child this way.
You nailed it. It's absolutely nothing to do with polyamory. And absolutely everything to do with being unkind, callous, and at a point of massive trauma to their child. Not only lies to them, but then walks out of the door, whilst their child is crying on their hands and knees begging them to not it.
At first it sounded like you just disagreed with their polyamory. But really it's not that at all. They were parents and you should leave them cut off. She's read this already. She actually told me, maybe it's best that I didn't try to talk to them again, but I want to look them in the eyes and say this, so I can get that moment that they stole from me. It doesn't matter what they say back. I have a new home now, it's with my fiance, and you know what, I'm gonna love our kids more than I love my flesh. I'm gonna go to their games, I'll drive them back from school, I'm gonna make every birthday a celebration. I'm gonna teach them how to ride a bike, how to change a tire, how to shave, how to drive. I'm gonna love them more than I love anything, and I'm gonna be a better parent than they ever were. I swear it.
Vested interest in defending polyamory.
The thing is that should have been post about a 16-year-old freaking out would obviously have to do with trauma, and not a disagreement on you choose to be a parent. You must always be a parent first. Doesn't matter your choice of lifestyle or job or anything. You have to put the child first, and yes, that means sometimes having less partying, or free time. But that's the commitment. If you cannot commit, you aren't ready for children. We as a society need to do better parent training.
Please don't confront them yet. You're too raw. Write a letter and then burn it. Talk to a therapist. I will tell you what will happen if you look them on the eye. They will deny, minimize, turn it back on you. It will be re-traumatizing for you. They could not get their heads out of their when you were a vulnerable child. They will care even less now. You can't get blood from a stone, and you can't get human remorse or validation out of them. Don't do it.
No, it was because all Op talked about was polyamory, not the fact that they were horrible, uncaring parents. We can only go off of what Op writes.
I wouldn't say he's immature, just that his anger seems misdirected. He's aware that his parents broadly failed him when he was a child, but seems fixated on their polyamory as if that's the cause of their failing, rather than him simply being bad parents. His fourth bullet point in this post is entirely unreasonable, a childish demand that wouldn't have resolved his mistreatment, and I think is emblematic of why people weren't so sympathetic in the first. Instead of his parents being polyamorous, instead suppose that one acts as the beard for the other, perpetuating the appearance of a happy heterosexual couple when the truth is that one spouse is and the other is not. Or we could even say that both are and they cover for each other. Nothing else needs to change. His parents still miss his extracurricular events to satisfy their needs, which aren't satisfied at home for obvious reasons, etc. We also have to assume that this is even the reason they missed his events. It's entirely possible they just didn't give a still spin him a story about what his life should look like. From what he describes, a distinctly Catholic vision of one man, one woman, marriage till death, still instill in him the idea that non-marital relationships are only distractions from truly important things, like schoolwork, still refuse to acknowledge their failings or hypocrisy, and their life is still fundamentally a lie. If Op demanded that his father and or mother stop being gay so that they can just be normal for his sake, he'd be making a bigoted, selfish demand that neither parent could really fulfill even if they wanted. Parents are polyamorous. That's who they are, how they live, it's part of being them. They aren't happy if they're not living like that. The issue isn't that they're poly, it's that they failed at raising their child. They instilled values in him that caused his entire worldview to shatter when he discovered the truth about their lifestyle, acted more like taskmasters than parents, and when confronted with the result of their failures neglected to get their child the counseling he needed. OP's missing the forest for the trees when he unironically writes that he asked him to stop, for if they did, it would probably have made their home life worse, not better. The fixation on polyamory is deeply unhealthy, and I'm glad Op is going to therapy. He really needs to deal with this stuff, because his parents seriously dropped the ball by failing to get him help when he was younger. I'm glad he's not inviting them to his wedding. Setting aside how triggering it must be, they really just don't deserve to be there.
If you only read the first post without all the edits, you definitely would get the impression that the issue he has was with their open. It's not. His parents neglected him and treated him like, he just didn't realize why until catching his mom another dude. The real reason discovering their lifestyle is so traumatic for him is because it's the explanation for why they treated him so badly and shows how hypocritical they are in ways that affected him.